Oh, awesome. You have it. Okay. Our results for April 2021 include substantive engagement with the Biden administration, the United Nations, and island partners regarding three specific actions. One is the UN Special Rapporteur's letter. There were three separate rapporteur filings with the United Nations regarding or citing alleged human rights violations in association with the military buildup. This is really just a mechanism to increase our ability to regulate, mitigate, and address the impacts of construction on all aspects of the life on Guam, whether it be cultural impact, environmental impacts, and the like. The letters were sent from the United Nations to the Biden administration, and Governor Leon Guerrero followed up on that filing. We also cited it on the record with the United Nations in our testimony before the UN Committee on the 24, which is the Committee on Decolonization. We also have on record our continuing request for a UN visiting mission to Guam. And I'm happy to report that Guam will be participating in the 2022 Our Ocean Conference hosted by Palau. We also completed our Sustainable Alliance metrics in collaboration with CIS OTEC for the dashboard tracking. We are, for our expected results, now that we are on the record with the C24, the Lieutenant Governor and myself will be traveling to the UN to present before the fourth committee. And so this is part of the process at the UN. The testimony on the C24 level helps to produce the draft resolution for the UN for the year, and then it is adopted by the fourth committee. So our presence at the UN Fourth Committee is critical to ensure that the language that supports the effort on Guam is adopted and recognized on an international level. We are also working on producing the draft International Organizations Engagement Report, which is an effort to try to align all of our efforts, local efforts in regards to our international regional and federal negotiations and communications. As you all know, our unincorporated territory status really imposes a very kind of different approach in the way that we engage partners and contemporaries and peers around the region and intergovernment. We are also working on the regional solidarity statement to be drafted by the executive branch and the 36th Guam legislature. Again, this is an effort to, assert one voice, a consistent voice in regards to policy decisions and international and regional relations for Guam. We are also working on documented engagement with Micronesian leaders to strategize a sub-regional approach to Guam's inclusion. As many of you know, our neighbors are currently in the process of renegotiating the terms of their compact agreements. And as an unincorporated territory, we are not included in those conversations and negotiations, although we, arguably bear one of the biggest impacts as a result of it. So we're really working to have a presence, even if only an observer status. We continue to develop new partnerships with island sustainability and strengthening of our current partnerships. A lot of this really is just organizational work so that we can understand what is being done on behalf of Guam and how do those things align and work together. The emerging opportunities include engaging with Micronesian leaders to discuss further sub-regional opportunities, maximizing our UN Special Rapporteur findings, and expanding international partnerships. Again, the work on this level is really critical in a policy scope. So our participation at the UN level is, it's always a challenge because we are so far away. And unfortunately, even with the COVID-19 pandemic, for whatever reason, the United Nations has not created virtual opportunities for us to participate. And so it remains a challenge for us to get out to the UN and be present so that we can be included on the record. But again, the special rapporteur filings and our previous participation is definitely helpful. We are working on aligning. We expect that we will be able to align local action with the Biden administration's environmental justice platform. There's a lot of very helpful language in that platform that could theoretically empower Guam. The good news is that the Federal Environmental Protection Agency has recognized the UN Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which holds a lot of strong policy language that can help us. But the challenge really is trying to get the concept applied in a pragmatic way to Guam. Our continuing movement on a UN visiting mission and a congressionally authorized plebiscite is in motion. And again, the work with the engagement on the UN level is important to this effort. Though we have a congressional representative, as you know, as an unincorporated territory, our position there is limited to a non-voting seat. So it's important for us to build federal partnerships, but to also create international pressure by working with the UN. Some of our needs in accomplishing these goals include more meaningful engagement with other team members. The work that even the other groups are doing is important to us because we have the challenge of asserting the connection between sovereignty, political status, and our ability to effectuate sustainable practices on the island. In general, our stance is that if we are not meaningfully included in the system of government because of our territorial status, if we do not have sovereignty over our island, our people, our natural resources, it remains a challenge to create policy level decisions that will impact us in a real way. So this is really the premise of the work that we do. We are still working through partnerships with the 36 Guam legislature. We've had some great engagement with some of our legislators. But it's really important that we take a unified stance on all sides of the front. So aligning the efforts and language from the executive branch and the legislative branch is going to be important for us. We continue to work to create multiple vehicles for international engagement. Again, this is a huge challenge because we are not members of the UN. We do not have a meaningful vehicle for participation on a federal level either. And so it remains a challenge to find funding for travel so long as virtual participation and access is not allowed or not provided by the United Nations. We identified a need for delegated authority from the governor to engage in regional, federal, and international conversations with our respective counterparts. Again, the effort with trying to organize our presence and our ongoing and past engagements with both international and federal partners is important so that we can have a more consistent and unified approach to these engagements. We are concerned about a streamlined mechanism for regional, federal, and international communication. In a lot of ways, this is, I guess a good way to kind of understand this is the idea is to try to create like a federal, regional, international clearinghouse, so to speak. That way we can consolidate all of these engagements and ensure that we are consistent in the way that we engage on a regional, federal, international level. That's it for the most part. Are there any questions? Okay. Zeus Masi.